Next, we're taking you to Media Watch with Erin O'Gunke. She's here to give us a look at what's hot online and on social media today. And you're starting with a piece published by the New York Times that looks at location tracking and the industry around here. And they found some concerning things.
That's right, Charlie. It's scary. It's an opinion piece called One Nation Tracked, and it's about the smartphone tracking industry, as the title suggests. So the New York Times essentially obtained a lot of data, which you can see here, from an anonymous source who said that he or she or they were concerned about potential abuses with this data, and so they wanted to give it to the New York Times, remaining anonymous. And the New York Times in the opinion piece reiterating those concerns when they published this information. So basically, the data contained more than 50 billion location pings for more than 12 million smartphones. And these are the green dots you can see here. So it's in big cities, Los Angeles, New York, I think.
It shows also that they're tracking from the White House,
yes, I'll get into
the headquarters for the defense.
Yeah, it's scary. And so, well, the big findings are that they found clear national security risks, observed protests, for example, in intimate detail, and were able to identify people who were participating in those protests. They learned that companies and apps mislead phone users into sharing their locations, and that the industry basically exists without any regulation. And then they say that although often this data is supposed to be anonymized, if you couple it with information that's publicly obtainable, addresses, places of employment, you can easily match a ping to a face. And indeed, there's no better illustration of that than when they tracked President Donald Trump. So this is, I think this is like 2 years ago. So they track him here at Mar-a-Lago, and they knew that he had a meeting at 7:10. So they're able to see essentially with, again, coupling public information about his schedule, where he was at any moment of the day. So yeah, scary.
In the wrong hands.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk a lot about how much countries like China track their residents, but I mean, with this kind of information in the wrong hands, it really could be a huge security problem.
Yeah.
But it's not something that we can't say we already knew was happening. I mean, I feel like Google knows more about me than my mother.
Yeah, it does. And that's what this Bloomberg piece gets at by saying that this decade should be dubbed the decade when tech turned dystopian. And they go in to explain multiple reasons for that, including the fact that people themselves engage in several behaviors that effectively cancel out their own privacy. So, I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Yes, a lot of us have smart speakers. We've taken those quizzes online and saw what happened with that with the Cambridge Analytica scandal.
The
face change, yeah,
face
with
aging
that Russian app, yeah, exactly. And of course, not reading the terms of service when we are quickly, clicking I accept. So they explain that, this is not new. New York Times has also done several pieces with similar information. This person saying that none of this is new, but like so much else, we don't pay attention until it's too late. So I think we can all shudder to imagine what that'll look like when it is too late.
Next story for us, you are looking at a surprising source for someone who's supporting impeachment of Donald Trump. That impeachment, of course, just happening a couple evenings ago in the House of Representatives. Who's the surprise source?
The surprise source, as the street suggests, is the editor of Christianity Today, which is an evangelical magazine that was founded by Billy Graham, which is probably the most eminent evangelical in the United States. And they say that they not only support impeachment, but removing Trump altogether, explaining that even though they think that Democrats have had it out for Trump since the very beginning and it's a partisan process, they say that the president clearly violated the Constitution by attempting to use his political power to coerce a foreign leader to harass and discredit a political rival, and that in addition to that, they say that his Twitter feed represents a perfect example, and I quote, of a human being who is morally lost and confused. Now, what's interesting about this is obviously the president has criticized them.
Can't imagine he took this very well.
No, it's pretty expected reaction, calling it a far left magazine, and of course that's not true. As this person says, Christianity Today was founded by Billy Graham, who is the most prominent evangelical figure in modern history. It's a vehemently, conservative publication. Now, what's interesting about this is, though Billy Graham passed away last year or 2 years ago, his son has tweeted saying that he should respond. Billy Graham did found Christianity Today, but he would not agree with their piece. He would be disappointed. And going even further, the son says in a later tweet that his father actually voted for Donald Trump, believed in him and voted for him and believed that he was the best man for this hour in history for our nation.
And just to give context to our viewers, this is a break from evangelical voters in the United States who widely support Donald Trump and continue to.
Yeah.
Next story, I'm glad you're talking about this because I'm a little obsessed with this as well. The movie Cats, based on the musical, the wildly popular musical, came out today, and social media users have some strong reactions.
Not only social media users, but film critics as well. But I must say, it's times like this when you really appreciate social media, when you need a break, when you need a laugh. The people really have delivered. So yes, the film adaptation of the musical was released today. It's directed by Tom Hopper, who did Les Miserables in 2012, and who also won an Academy Award for The King's Speech. A lot of people are wondering if that award should be revoked because they find that what he has done with Cats is so terrible.
This is Taylor Swift here?
This is Taylor Swift.
Okay,
so a lot of what
cast.
people are criticizing is the costume, this weird mix of humans and cats. And it's called digital fur technology, and it's designed indeed to crossbreed feline and human anatomies using that technique. I will say that I have at least one positive review, which is this reviewer from the Financial Times saying that this movie is quite worryingly erotic. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he gave it 4 stars. That said, the vast majority of reviews are negative, and you can see when you Google the film, the words that come up to describe it are unsettling, cringeworthy, terrifying, awkward, disturbing. People are having a ball. They're saying if you're feeling bored, take a look at these reviews. This man saying that this is an ugly fiasco that makes you feel like your brain is being eaten by a parasite. Very graphic descriptions of how people react. This one saying it melts your face off. We have another person, this reviewer, saying it just feels wrong. I think a nod to that weird costume. This one made me laugh a lot, saying if you recoiled back at the sight of British acting royalty with their faces stuck onto little furry bodies, or even the jarring images of cats with human breasts, chances are you'll still be covering your eyes and peering in a profoundly disturbed state through the gaps in your fingers by the end. Now, the last thing that I will say is that it has become a phenomenon with this person using a pun to say that they are seeing the movie this morning and will then write about what happens to her brain as she watches it, not a review, more of a CAT scan.
CAT scan.
Yeah.
Nice work.
It's a little fun.
All these people seeing it, though, so it could be, maybe
it's the best
maybe all
publicity
press
thing
is
they
good
could hope for.
press.
Yeah.
We'll see when it comes out here in France. Erin Ogunki with today's Media Watch. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Charlie.
Now it's time for